Yo, my peoples, what's up? Welcome to the One Stop Co-op Shop. Jason here. Today I have a special feature, a comparison. This is Sentinels of the Multiverse, the original core set of which was released around 10 years ago as I record this video. Released product until around 5 years ago with the culminating Oblivion. I have collected it in this giant box, which I backed on Kickstarter. But the product has been reiterated. The 2.0 version, a definitive edition for Sentinels of the Multiverse, has recently landed in Kickstarter backers' hands. And so what I would like to do very quickly in this episode is compare the two products. As someone who played the tar out of the first edition, I would like to get into the nitty-gritty of what this improves in terms of aesthetic and gameplay on the hero side and on the villain side. I want to really drill down and help you understand if this product is right for you, whether you enjoyed the first version, you're looking to upgrade, or if you didn't enjoy the version, and does this take you over the edge of something that you would like to enjoy. So let's get to it, comparing Sentinels of the Multiverse first edition to the definitive edition.
All right, so first off, we're going to look at overall value of what you're getting. I pulled out the sleeve of the big box, but the original box wasn't that exciting. About this exciting, this is what you got. MSRP at about $40. This one is going to sell for about $60. So are you getting what you are paying in terms of the extra $20? I think so, and I'll show you how. So then I'm going to pull this forward a little bit. This is all the cards that you got. 10 heroes, 4 villains, and 4 environments in the old edition. The new one, they threw in 2 of everything. 2 more heroes, 2 more environments, and 2 more villains. And they swapped around a little bit. Visionary is going to be in the next set. In this set, we got Unity and Argent Adept and Captain Cosmic. Unity and a couple of the other characters came as separate packs. So if you wanted to get match what you would be getting in the definitive edition, you would have to buy another pack, which ended up adding cost. So they've consolidated, and I think all the new products are going to come in these big boxes, away with the small boxes. You are not welcome anymore. The dividers in the old edition look like this. They were not super exciting. They did the job. In the new edition, a little bit of a remix, but they also have the card list in case you want to, like me, make sure you have every card, you're not missing a single one. Now you're starting to get into the value proposition when you get into the little token box over here and box for other stuff. So you have trackers. This is a neat little thing which happens to track the bosses, and you have individual trackers as opposed to having to use these chits. You had chits all over the place in the old edition. And then in the basic Sentinels, the old version, these were just regular cards. For the heroes, in this one, you get slightly bigger cards so that can distinguish your card from the deck. That happened a lot where, my card would get swept up in my shuffles, and I will be a little bit inconvenient, but you got a solution for that. And also, here are some variants with some variant art. Very much, harkening back to, 30s, 40s, 50s, Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, in terms of representing the characters, and they are going to have alternate powers as well. This comes in the box. You had to buy that separate in the first cycle of products. Also, you get your villains in the base box that did not come with oversized one. You had to buy them separate. Here they're included. And you also get these. This is a sort of campaign that you could run through these events, and if you succeeded, you got them in your collection. You got some extra powers that you could fire off. And critical events, where you need these powers in order to do these critical events. This is like ultra hard mode. So you are getting not only more stuff, which multiplies, so the interactions are going to multiply, so you have a lot more combinations to run through. And also, you get all these oversized cards for your convenience and extra events and stuff to do as well.
All right, so the next thing I want to look at is the art. Apples to apples comparison with the Tachyon decks. I think in the older version, the Tachyon deck was a little bit infamous for having some of the worst drawings in the entire product line. A lot of the older cards did this, where it wasn't even really much of a drawing at all. It was just kind of a big explosion or something of that nature. You see the hypersonic assault, hypersonic bash, apples to apples comparison, a much different scenario there. Also, 2 different versions of Sucker Punch. I mean, I just don't know what's going on with that face. A much more respectable rendering of Tachyon there. Here is Tachyon's finisher card, the Lightspeed Barrage. Anyone who knows Tachyon's deck knows the power of this card. Have you ever really looked at what's going on in the upper body? And a lot of the cards, if you look closely at them, it's like, ooh, what's going on here? This one, a little bit more just classic comic book fare. Also wanted to note the just the graphic layout here. You have the yellowish background with the bolder letters, and I think I prefer this just from a usability perspective because here the white background helps, but the much smaller letters, I definitely had a little bit of problem when I played with someone who was a little bit sight impaired, had to kind of keep the cards close to their eyes so that I could read them a little bit better. In a card-based game like that, I definitely want to watch out for that. But that is the direct comparison of art and graphic layout. All right, so let's get into it. Let's talk about how Definitive Edition improves the hero play. If Definitive Edition does anything, it improved and made the heroes better, especially on the hero side. And I think it did it along 2 tracks, and I'll talk about them separately. Here I'll talk about how Definitive Edition leaned into the theme of each of the heroes and used that theme to make them mechanically more interesting. Nowhere is that more true than with Bunker. Bunker was a sentimental favorite of fans of the old game. However, mechanically, pretty flat. So the way the old Bunker worked was they needed to draw cards. So they had a power draw card. That sounds pretty good. One of the cards they used to do that was the recharge mode. Bunker operated on modes. You play them and, you kind of, you sacrifice a lot. Like here you sacrifice, your mode card. You can't play cards, use powers, but you can draw an additional card during the phase. So you kind of like slow buildup of cards. For the sake of cards like this, the Omni Cannon, at the start of your turn, you may put up to 3 cards from your hand beneath this card. So, so if you have a large hand of cards, stick them under the Omni Cannon, get that going over a couple of turns, and you could do some real damage. However, that required having the Omni Cannon out and having turn after turn to just build up cards, and maybe turns where you didn't do very interesting things. Maybe all you had was a flat cannon, and it's like, wham, you did 3 damage instead of 2. So you spent all this time to do this awesome thing, and when it went off, it was great. But getting there was a little bit of a chore, and if the enemy wiped your cards, then Bunker was unfortunately boned. How did they improve? And so here is the new Bunker. Already, just from the power itself, you see an improvement. Draw 1 card or put the top card of your deck under 1 ordnance in play. Ordnance being weaponry. Guards like this, more variety of weapons. And in a thematic kind of moment, it's almost like locking and loading. There was also other cards that they introduced, such as this card right here. During your play phase, you may put 1 card from your trash under 1 ordnance card, and also end phase, put 1 card of your deck under 1 ordnance card. Load, load, load. And just lots of ways to load, and especially, look at this sweet recharge mode. Remember in the last edition, it let you draw an extra card. Here, draw 4 additional cards. Just let's get going. And in a way, that is thematic. So you're going to load. Once you have the guns loaded, you're going to see powers that say right here, destroy all cards under this card. Bunker deals X amount of energy, or destroy 2 cards, or something like that, where you're loading and you're shooting and you can get that going pretty fast. And it's actually pretty cool to have turns where you have like 4 or 5 cards, load, 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 boom, boom, boom. And that happens fairly quickly. Still sensitive to board wipes. I'll get to having the equipment destroyed in just a second, but I loved how they reimagined Bunker, and not only Bunker. Here's another example, Tempest. Did not change much from the original game, but got some thematic workings. now has this keyword called weather. So then Tempest is, obviously the controller of the storms. So they can make rain, they can make hail, and they have cards now that so you see this relic that after any weather card is destroyed, you deal lightning damage. So then he can destroy his own weather cards, kind of manipulating the weather and dealing out damage in terms of lightning. So then, it's trying to pointing you in that thematic direction of the sense of Tempest, which is manipulating the weather and killing stuff, bunker loading stuff, Unity pumping out those bots. So much this game does to amp up the theme. Very, very, very welcome. So the other line of improvement for the cards, not just thematically, is in the pure card play. In so many of the heroes in the first edition, it was play a card, use a power, draw. Play, power, draw. Play, power, draw. Very lockstep, and which could be cool because depending on what the card you play and how your deck comes together. But it felt very constrained in terms of, you had 3 things that you did. And in the case of Absolute Zero, they were desperate to find certain cards. You had to find these 2 cards in order for Absolute Zero to function. So then that was at least 2 turns if you were blessed with having these 2 cards in order to play them. And then, over the course of other turns, he didn't get increased play, so you slowly rolled his cards out. Eventually, by turn 7 or 8 or 9 or something further than that, he would get powerful cards like this. Cold Snap at the start of your turn. Deal 1 cold damage to everything, which is amazing. And also Impale. Deal 1 target 2 cold damage every turn. Get those buffs. Amazing damage output from Absolute Zero, but it took a long time to get there, and it was very vulnerable to having his stuff destroyed before it even got going. So now here we have the new Absolute Zero. Same power, still works the same way, basically. Wants to deal fire damage to himself in order to deal all that cold damage to his opponents. But check out what they did with the armor that he had. Before, you just played it and it did its thing. Now, after this card is played, play another card. So both cards do that. So then you could theoretically have both your pieces of armor out in one turn. Or you have other more resources to play more cards. Summon 1 item card, which is dig it out of your deck and play it. Or draw 1 card, collect 1 item card. Collect means just have it in your hand. But 1 item card, he doesn't just have these 2. He has plenty of cool items. And so you see how, in the first edition, it's almost like the designers wanted to keep you in that play, power, draw paradigm. Here, play, power, draw. They really loosened that up. He doesn't have Absolute Zero, that is. Doesn't have those cards that just generate raw power, so you might not get that build-up effect of like 50 damage at once. But they have replaced that with clever card play, which I think is more rewarding for a gamer who's now used to a very complex level of card play. Not just Absolute Zero. I'm going to give an example of Unity over here. Unity summons her bot, and it was, pretty slow going sometimes to get her bots out so that they could fight for her in front of her. But check this out. They reworked the power. You can play or discover 1 mechanical golem. So if you happen to not have 1 in your hand, you dig it out of the deck and you just take it to play next turn. The previous version of the power, as you can see, you only played the mechanical golem from your hand or put it into play. You weren't discovering anything. It was slow. Sentinels Definitive Edition wants to put you in the action as quickly as possible. The Definitive Edition didn't do too much to reimagine the villains that I've seen. However, as you can see in these apples-to-apples comparisons on Grand Warlord Voss's minions, 3 hit points each. They have been buffed to 6 to account for the fact that the heroes get started a little bit faster generally because a lot of the decks have been reworked to have a more increased card play earlier. One of the most annoying things that the old version of Sentinels did was kill your stuff. Kill your cards, kill your ongoings and equipment. With cards like this from Omnitron's deck, Sedative Fletchets, destroy all hero ongoing cards. So much for building up. The reworked villains, and I find that a lot of villains have cards like this. So instead, this is the same card, a Fletchet Launcher, attacking Haka, and Exterminate, it deals damage based on the number of ongoing cards a certain hero has. So it's kind of a big trade-off. And then Fabricate is a thing that Amantron does in the new version. It will destroy H-2 hero ongoing cards, H being the number of players in the game. So this could be destroy all hero ongoing cards, could be like 5, 6, 8. Here, it's a pretty hard cap on how many destroy, a welcome change. However, for those of you wondering about Citizen Dawn's infamous card, Devastating Aurora, destroy everything, you got 2 copies of it, it's still there. And so finally, the biggest question that a lot of people are going to have in their minds is, how is the tracking? Did they improve the tracking? +1 damage dealt, -1 damage taken, +1, -1, +1, add. The arithmetic and the management of the game could be overwhelming for some. It didn't really change that fundamental characteristic of the game. I feel like it's just baked into the system. I asked Christopher Bedell about it, and he's like, you know what? That's just the game. So they gave you tokens, and there's lots of tokens. This character doesn't take any damage whatsoever. This character doesn't deal any damage, and on down the line. They stack a little bit, so if you want to give somebody -5 damage taken, then go ahead and stack them all up. But the arithmetic is still there, so if that's what puts you off the game, then it hasn't really changed. So buyer beware on that. Also, the game requires 3 characters. It plays from 3 to 5. If you're a low player count player, then Marvel Champions is there if you want an experience of 1 character or 2 characters. But if you want that team-based mode, if you want that sense of cooperation amongst heroes, then I feel that Sentinels does that better still than any superhero card game that I've played. I sincerely hope that this has been helpful for you. Please leave comments if you would like to see more comparisons between old versions and new versions. We are going to get more Sentinels. As you see, there is a ad for Rook City Renegades. We're probably going to get another 12 heroes in the next set as well. So I will be happy to feature that when it comes in. This is Jason from the One Stop Co-op Shop, reminding you that we will see you at the next stop.